Just a quick announcement before today's show that November is Investor Month. For the entire month of November, we will be featuring 12 cannabis investors. So if you're a cannabis company that's raising capital or an accredited investor that's looking for a firm to manage your cannabis investments, make sure to listen to Raising Cannabis Capital in November and get ready for 12 cannabis investor episodes.
And we saw that tinctures end up around 15%. And when we apply that number to what a lot of people take, which is their 33 milligram full dropper worth of tincture, it actually comes back to 5 milligrams. When we ask people how much they take for soft gels, it's around 50 milligrams. And when we apply our math to it, again, it's back around 5 milligrams.
From MJBulls Media, it's the Raising Cannabis Capital Show. I'm Dan Humiston, and on today's show, how this chemist applied his years of big pharma experience to create clean, bioavailable CBD products for people and pets. Today on Raising Cannabis Capital, we are joined by Chris Denicola from Santeer. Chris, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be on.
Well, I've been looking forward to speaking with you today about CBD because Santeer produces a complete line of CBD products, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But while I was preparing for the interview, I started learning about bioavailability, which I kind of interpret as how much CBD my body can actually use per dose. And I was completely puzzled why this is happening. And I figured who better to talk to than a chemist could explain it to us normal people. Why, when I take a tincture and put some CBD into my mouth or I eat a gummy, why does my body only end up using like 10 to 15% of the medicine?
Sure. So there's a couple different things that are going on. First, CBD in its natural state is a crystal. So we like to equate that to if you take a packet of sugar, pour that into a glass of iced tea, where does the sugar go? It just sinks to the bottom. If you took a sip of that iced tea right away, there would be no sweetness to it because none of the sugar actually got into the iced tea yet. Take some kind of action to make that sugar go in. And CBD is very similar in that if you just take CBD isolate product, most of it is not going to be soluble. So if it's not soluble, it's not going to be in a state that's bioavailable or won't get into your bloodstream. With tinctures, oils dissolve oils, and the CBD wants to actually stay in the MCT and not dissolve or get into the digestive system and then into the bloodstream. Mm-hmm. So you're limited by the solubility or the delivery mechanism that product's in.
Okay. Which makes sense. Now, at Santeer, you worked on this for, I think in your website it said over 2.5 years, trying to make this process more efficient.
Yeah, so high level, mainly because it's still our trade secret, our IP, we control the crystallization in a way that allows the CBD and oils to be really close to 100% soluble, so that a 5 milligram dose acts like a 5 milligram dose. When we apply our dissolution results, and we saw that tinctures end up around 15%. And when we apply that number to what a lot of people take, which is their 33 milligram full dropper worth of tincture, it actually comes back to 5 milligrams. When we ask people how much they take for soft gels, it's around 50 milligrams. And when we apply our math to it, again, it's back around 5 milligrams.
Really, how it comes down to the impact it has on the consumer is a couple different ways, as far as I can see, is one, you don't need to take as much because more of the medicine is being absorbed. So you don't need to purchase as much. And two, it's more predictable. The dose is always going to be what it is. It's like if I take extra strength Tylenol, I know how that's going to affect me. Sometimes I need to take 2, sometimes I need to take 3, but it's always the same. Versus right now with CBD, you have to sort of self-trial and error, whereas it feels like what you're doing, I'm going to eliminate that. It's going to be the same every single time.
That's definitely our goal. We're trying to make people feel better quickly and consistently, like you were just saying. And we do that with the technology. And then we do that with the effects that we apply to each product. The oils that we use for our Dream and our Focus product are completely the same. The profiles of the cannabinoids are the same. It's the terpene blends that we add to that cause that effect to happen. And we allow the cannabinoids, and mainly the CBD, to work in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the other reason for trying to make these products, is how do we make them functional and fit in everybody's life? Mm-hmm. How do we get people to have a better night's sleep without the grogginess of melatonin or the grogginess of bottle of Jack or Benadryl or just too much CBD or too much cannabinoids?
Yeah, I like the fact that your products are very pure. There's not a lot of additives, not a lot of sleight of hand, stick some caffeine in this or vitamin B to give you focus. There's none of that going on. It's all done naturally through terpenes and using CBD. But the other thing that I like is the delivery method, the chewables. I think that's great. When I first started hearing tinctures, I was like, I'm not even sure I know what that is. And then when I started seeing them, I'm like, wow, that seems kind of old school, So
yeah, old school is a good way to say it.
Everyone's used to chewables. I think that makes so much more sense.
Yeah. Two things. One, we all grew up taking Flintstone vitamin. And because we saw that our rate of dissolution or rate of solubility rose very fast in the first 2 or 3 minutes, we knew that the chewing action would break down the tablet, cause saliva to be produced, and you'd get some initial solubility and absorption through the sublingual glands, but then you end up swallowing it. So more of it is being released in your stomach. So we have a fast release product, so you get fast, immediate relief, or whatever effect you're going for. But then it works for another good 6-8 hours.
Okay.
So it's not like you're having to dose multiple times every couple hours.
I want to take a quick break to thank you for listening to today's show. As the leading cannabis podcast network, we're constantly adding new cannabis podcasts to support our industry's growth. And that's why we're so excited to announce our newest podcast, The Cannabis Breakout. The show is about the thousands of Americans who remain in prison for violating cannabis laws that have long since been overturned. The Cannabis Breakout gives cannabis political prisoners a voice. If you're a former cannabis prisoner or have a loved one who is a cannabis prisoner, we want to share your story. Please go to MJBulls.com and sign up to be a guest.
Coming close to the end of our time here, but we didn't have a chance to really talk about your products. In addition to a complete line for people, you also have a line for pets.
I wanted to keep the ingredient list of this product especially low. One, terpenes can be toxic to cats and dogs, so we wanted to make sure that those were out of there. Second, I was making this for my own dog, and I wanted her to have the best ingredients and the best product possible. We built products for small, medium, and large dogs. We wanted to make sure that different sized dogs weren't getting penalized for having to buy more product.
Well, I just think it's good that you're heading in that direction because you want to give your pets the safest products that you can. But real quick, I see that you have a wholesale division within your company. If somebody wants to add CBD to their existing line of products, they can work with you to create a white label brand.
Absolutely. We do both. Obviously, we would much prefer to have our brand out there, but we can definitely very quickly, very easily prototype for people, show them using our containers. We can put their labels on there very quickly so they can show it off to their customers, get some feedback, show it off to their investors. They're not having to buy 1,000 or 10,000 units to get on market. We can do some small scale stuff for them internally. Yes, we've got a full affiliate program, wholesale, white label. We're looking to expand on that.
That's good. You mentioned investors. Are you raising capital or will you be raising capital, and will there be opportunities for people to invest in your company?
We are getting to that point. What we're realizing is we've done all of the work from the science, product development, marketing, messaging, and now we need to start looking at investments or partners for scale up of manufacturing, for packaging, for sales channels. How do we find the right partners that have the relationships with the large CVS's and Coca-Colas and those types of brands where just slapping a CBD sticker on a current product may work, but are you going to get repeat sales because no one saw that it worked or that it was functional? We want to provide that differentiation. That's why we've worked hard on the branding, on the packaging, on the retail displays, on the messaging, so that we look different when someone comes into a store, that it attracts somebody. And from very quickly and from far away, people can tell what the products are and when to use it and how to use it.
I think that makes sense. So when you're ready, let me make sure you tell us, because I'm sure people will be interested.
Yeah, we're getting there. And it's more opportunistic, but yes, we're just about there.
Okay. Well, we've been speaking with Chris Denicola from Santeer, and all of his contact information is going to be on the MJBulls website. Chris, thanks for taking the time today to explain this to us and also to talk about your company.
Yeah, I appreciate the questions. Very informative questions, and was happy to be involved. Yeah. Thank you for the time.
Today's show was made possible by the generous support of our sponsors, like Alt36, the country's premier blockchain payment processing platform that's providing dispensaries and its customers with a safe and secure payment option other than cash. To learn more, go to alt36.com. Today's podcast was produced by MJBulls Media, the industry's premier cannabis podcast network, with original music produced in part by Jamie Humiston. I'm Dan Humiston, and you've been listening to the Raising Cannabis Capital podcast.